By the end of this video, not only know which old money brands to add to your shopping list and which to avoid, but also what they excel in and what you should probably steer clear of. Number 1, Hugo Boss. And Hugo Boss gets an instant F. There is literally only one pro to wearing Hugo Boss, and that is the name. You can just tell people, oh, I'm wearing a suit from Hugo Boss, but that's it. The cons? Well, not only are they fast fashion garbage, but they include a bunch of synthetic fabrics such as polyester in their materials, and also their designs are very fashion forward, not something that a modern gentleman would want to wear. Plus, they are extremely expensive. A suit at Hugo Boss goes from somewhere around 500 to 600 euros, I think, and for that price you can get something at Suit Supply, for example, which is much more qualitative. Now, I should have listened to my own advice, because when I started getting into style, I was an addict of Hugo Boss. Everything I owned was Hugo Boss. That's why right now I have about 7 or 8 suits that I never wear because they're absolutely awful, all from Hugo Boss. Those are thousands of dollars badly spent, and I do not want you to make this exact mistake. In my personal opinion, you're just better off spending your money elsewhere. Sure, Hugo Boss offers everything from suits to shirts to even cufflinks, but all those items can be found in other places for a much more affordable price and in a much better quality. Next up, Pini Parma, which gets an A. If you want Loro Piana or Brunello Cucinelli type of quality, Italian manufacturing and fabrics, but for a much more affordable price, Pini Parma is the shop for you. And their pants are almost perfect. They have incredible designs, are the epitome of old money, and offer very high quality Italian fabrics. Their pants are also advertised as high-waisted, and that's literally the only con I have with them. Their pants are not high-waisted. They're mid-waisted at best. So, what should you get from them? Trousers. Even though they're not high-waisted, they still are very high quality, and they offer pants in materials from linen to wool to even corduroy and flannel. You can literally find anything you want. Now, 200 euros for a pair of pants might sound like a lot to some people, but trust me, when it comes to mid-waisted pants, you will not find a better quality anywhere else. But when it comes to high-waisted pants, you might. Before we continue, hello there, my name is Stefan, and I help young men improve their confidence by improving their wardrobe, style, and overall lifestyle. If you find value in my content and want to help a small channel trying to help young men, then a like would be highly appreciated. Brand number 3, Spear & Mackay, they get an A-. In my opinion, old money aesthetics can be further categorized into Italian, English, or American inspired. And while Spear & Mackay certainly draws inspiration from all of them, I believe it is the latter that they excel in. The best part about them is that they offer affordable and high quality high-waisted pants in a variety of different fabrics and patterns. I will take a look at their high-waisted pants, at their sports coats, and at their knitwear. Spear & Mackay is definitely a brand that seems to do about everything right. But the same cannot be said about Zara. Zara gets an instant F. Some may say that shopping at Zara is practically like spending 20 euros on a plastic garbage bag. But is that true? Literally the only pro I can think of is that the prices are relatively low. So if that's the only reason why you're buying clothes, I don't know what you're doing on this video. In my limited experience with them, and this is my own subjective opinion, Zara doesn't do many things right. Their clothing is often made with synthetics, their designs are very fashion forward, bordering on fashionable, and their stitching will break after just a few wears. So, what should you get from Zara? Well, you should get out and go to a better store. But if you think Zara is bad, well, brace yourself for H&M. Yes, H&M is possibly worse than even Zara. And there is literally no point in developing this one even further. H&M gets an instant F. Polo Ralph Lauren offers not only high quality items made out of mostly natural fabrics, we'll get to that a bit later, but they also offer timeless designs, and their lookbooks are simply an amazing source of inspiration. So yes, they do get bonus points for that. I only have 2 cons when it comes to Polo Ralph Lauren, and first of all, it's that they sometimes do use synthetic fabrics. For example, it's not here. For example, I have a sports coat from them, and while the design is absolutely fantastic, it is, I think, about 40% polyester. I will check. And the second one is that, yes, I do admit they are a bit overpriced, especially now with the tax tariffs coming from the US. In Europe, buying from Polo Ralph Lauren might not be the best option anymore. And what I would recommend you to get from Polo Ralph Lauren is practically their knitwear. I would recommend their polo shirt because they're simply iconic. I would also recommend their Oxford cloth button downs, again iconic, and I would get them on white, on powder blue, maybe even on pink. And last but not least, their sweaters. Polo Ralph Lauren has some amazing sweaters, whether you're talking about quarter zippers or cricket sweaters or simple v-necks. Purple Label is an obvious S, and anyone who says otherwise is simply wrong and their opinions don't matter. No, that was an obvious joke, but I would probably concur that other than going for a fully bespoke wardrobe where every piece is made entirely for you, Purple Label is the place in which you're gonna find the biggest variety of classic menswear items. You can literally find anything you want. Suits, trousers, shirts. I think they even have a white tie ensemble in store, and the quality is close to unmatched, but then again so is the price point, which is in my opinion the only con. The only true con anyways. Number 8 we have Halls & Curtis, and this is a traditional brand from London, Jermyn Street to be precise, and they specialize in offering their clients a traditional British look for only a quarter of the price of other stores on Jermyn Street. They offer everything from suits to shirts to even coats. And when it comes to old money, I've always said that I prefer the English old money style during the winter and fall and the Italian one during the spring and summer. I think that's a pretty safe bet. Halls & Curtis does, however, have plenty of negative aspects. First of all, their pants are not high-waisted, and this is a gripe I have with most brands on this list. And especially for a suit, we're not talking about odd trousers here, especially for a suit you will want high-waisted pants. Their suit jackets are also pretty short. If you're looking for a full cut suit, this is not where you're gonna find it. They do offer more modern designs, let's say. So if anyone from Halls & Curtis does watch this, please start offering high-waisted pants with side adjusters. I simply don't see the point in belt loops on my pants that go together with a double-breasted jacket. Second of all, their lapels are, let's say, on the slimmer side. And third, their fabrics are not 100% natural. But when it comes to Halls & Curtis, what I would definitely recommend are their shirts. They have this amazing deal of 4 shirts for just, I think, £200, something like that. And also their trench coats are pretty decent, I would say. I got this bad boy back in, I think, April of last year when I went to London, and I have received so many compliments on it. That's why Halls & Curtis gets a B. Their products are almost fantastic, but a few details do need to be changed. While we're here, let's also talk about Charles Stewart. Now, I do not have any personal experience with Charles Stewart, but while I was on Jermyn Street, I also happened to go into their store, which happens to be right on the other side of the street from Halls & Curtis, and browse their selection a bit. And they're pretty much the same as Halls & Curtis. Their products are very similar in design, quality, and price point. One thing I would like to mention, however, is that Charles Stewart does have his own book, which is very insightful, and I would recommend any of you to purchase it off of Barnes & Noble, or if you're in England, Waterstones. Number 10 is Ota. One of the biggest gaps in the market when it comes to classic menswear, in my opinion, is the accessories part, and especially the tie section. Sure, you can find some pretty decent ties at Ralph Lauren, let's say, but who has $150 to spend on a tie? I'll be honest, my tie collection was pretty weak before I discovered Ota. The sheer variety in their collection is simply incredible. Ota offers ties, cufflinks, and pocket squares in hundreds or even thousands of designs, and basically, if you can imagine it, Ota probably does have it. And they also sell collar bars, tie bars, cummerbunds, and even bow ties. Ota is a unicorn, and that's why it gets an A. If there were simply more brands like Ota, the world would be a better place. But sadly, that is not the reality that we live in, as exemplified by our next entry, which is Masimo Duty. Now, before we move on, I would like to completely finish off with Zara, because as you may know, Masimo Duty is often considered the deluxe branch of Zara, and they're often recommended in old money videos or reels, something I couldn't disagree with more. Now, are their products better quality than Zara? Yes, but barely. You see, they're still the same cheaply made, mass-produced items that Zara offers, but simply repackaged in a more attractive way. Now, should you completely avoid Masimo duty? Well, this highly depends. If you're just starting out on your style journey and you don't really have that much money to spend, then you might be able to find some products that are worth your while at Massimo Dutti. For example, I would never buy a suit from them. I did. It was my first suit when I was in the 8th grade and I would never go back. But that being said, you could find, for example, a buttonless polo shirt. They have some pretty decent looking models. So if you're not willing to spend that much, but want to look somewhat old money, if you can call it that, then perhaps Massimo Dutti is an option for you. That's why they get a D. Now, when it comes to buying a suit, Massimo Dutti is definitely not a choice. But there are some options that you should be well informed about. First of all, we have Savo, and here I have just compiled all of the different tailor houses from the street, because talking about each of them individually would warrant an entire video on its own. The attention to detail you're going to find in those tailoring houses is simply unmatched. Not only by typical clothing brands, but also by other bespoke tailors from other areas of the world. Every important or self-respecting man will at some point invest in a Savile Row suit, whether they be fictional or non-fictional, such as James Bond, Winston Churchill, or even Ralph Lauren himself. And while the quality is unmatched, so is the price. A Savile Row suit will set you back about between 5,000 to 10,000 pounds. If you want to go for a more modern, branded solution, then Tom Ford might be your answer. Their suits are top-notch, and it is what Harvey Specter wears in the TV show Suits. And basically, if it's good for him, it's good enough for you as well. Now, other than their tailoring solutions, I would personally avoid other Tom Ford items, because they do tend to border on the fashion forward. That being said, their suits are worth having a look at, even though I do not believe they offer bespoke, just made-to-measure or off-the-rack options. In my opinion, Tom Ford does two things great. First of all, their suiting, which, if you are able to spend 5,000 pounds or euros or dollars on a suit, then I would go for Savile Row, but it's definitely a good option. And second of all, their fragrances. I have long spoken about this. I love Neroli Portofino and Tuscan Leather. So highly recommend that. Tom Ford is not really S tier, but I would definitely give them an A+. Number 14 is Suit Supply, and Suit Supply gets an automatic A. Here's why. Now, where can you find something under 1,000 euros that beats 99% of the other suits you find on the street? Suit Supply becomes your number one option. They do many things decently, I would say. Ties, shirts, accessories, but where they really shine, in my opinion, is their made-to-measure option. In late August of last year, I had the pleasure of visiting their headquarters in Amsterdam and speaking to one of their professionals, taking my measurements and designing the suit of my choice. It was an amazing experience, and I can wholeheartedly say that it's one of my favorite suits to the date. And you can literally customize anything on their websites. The fabric, the length of the lapels, even the length of the jacket or the rise of the pants. It's all up to you. And if you want to see a video of me literally going through the whole made-to-measure process on the Suit Supply website step by step and telling you what all the options mean, drop a comment down below. As I've said, most of their items are decent, but I would personally stick to their customizable items such as coats, shirts, suits, pants, and odd jackets. Now, if you've ever been to Italy, you might understand what I mean when I say that there are a few Italian menswear shops or brands that are all very similar. They feature the same kind of aesthetic. Let's start off with my favorite one out of the list, which is Guthridge. And when it comes to them, I believe that they are very hit or miss. You can either find something that you will absolutely love, or something that you're gonna wear literally twice in your life and then throw away. And the thing is, even if you get a shirt, let's say for 50 euros that you do not like, you spent 50 euros, you're not gonna cry about it. Honestly, I would just stick with their spring or summer collection. I would not necessarily get a coat from Guthridge, but when it comes to their linen shirts, their polo shirts, or maybe even their neckties, you can't really go wrong with them. It's really something of the sort of buy online at full price and you might have a heartbreak, but buy in store during the summer on sale and you will not believe the bargain that you have just made. C+. Dan John is by far the worst out of the 5 Italian brands that I'm gonna be talking about. And that's because while their aesthetic is pretty much in tune with the other 5, they do offer that old money vibe that everyone seems to be crazy about nowadays. Their products are very badly made. As for what to get, I wouldn't personally get anything from them, but that's just my personal opinion. If you don't really care about the quality of your products and only about the price, you will find prices that match Zara, but their quality does tend to be a bit better, and also their designs do tend to be a bit more, let's say, classic inspired. Doppelganger. This is exactly like Don John. I do believe that they use a bit less synthetics in their products, but I'm not 100% sure. Grade D. Now, when it comes to Sparoma, I think I have a pocket square from them, or it might be a tie, or both, I'm not sure. Sparoma sells those tie and pocket square combos that unfortunately I was unlucky enough to buy as a young adult because I did not know any better. Never buy a tie and a pocket square from a set, they're not supposed to match. Sparoma also gets a D. The last one in our Italian menswear brands, Bogi Milan. This is a bit of an outlier from the rest. Bogi does tend to offer some natural garments. If you take a look at their suits, they will offer either 100% wool, plastic, or a stretch mix. That being said, too many products that they sell are fully synthetic, and to spend 1,000 euros on a fully synthetic suit falls into the realm of fantasy. So if you find yourself in a Bogi Milan store, tread carefully, look at every individual label, check that it's natural fabrics, and just be careful. I will place Bogi Milan slightly above the other 3 and just below Guthridge, because Guthridge does tend to offer better, more affordable pricing. Speaking of Italian brands, next up, let's look at an Italian footwear manufacturer, Scarosa. Now, when it comes to footwear, there are 3 things that you need to keep in mind. First of all is the design, and Scarosa offers all the classic shoe types. They offer Oxfords, Derbies, monk straps, loafers, Chelsea boots, you name it. Next up we have the construction, and here you can have Blake stitch, Goodyear welted, or cemented. Cemented is the cheapest one and the one you want to avoid. It basically means that the sole of your shoe is literally glued to the rest of your shoe. Blake stitch and Goodyear welted are pretty much on par with each other, but Italians do seem to prefer the Blake stitch, and this is what you will get at Scarosa. Third of all, you have the leather, and they do offer some of the most high quality premium Italian leather that I have seen, especially for the 200 to 300 euro price point. When it comes to Scarosa, I really don't have anything negative to say. I mean, they do offer very qualitative shoes for half the price you would find in other places, or even a third of a price that you would find in brands such as Churches. I have one pair of Oxfords from them in brown, and if you compare them to the Oxfords I have from Hugo Boss, you can definitely notice the difference in the quality of the leather. One of them feels plasticky, the other one feels like real leather. That's why I'm going to give Scarosa an A+. Talking about Italian shoes, what if you're looking for something a bit more casual and less expensive? Well, Otis is the place for you. They're a smaller brand that not many people have heard of, and while they do not offer the most high quality shoe, I'm pretty sure their shoes are cemented, I personally believe that for a pair of casual, summery loafers, they're good enough. While I would never get my serious shoes from them, such as Oxfords, last year I was in Florence and I got 2 pairs, each for 100 of loafers, and 1 year later, with proper shoe care, they're still almost as good as new, so I can't complain. In my opinion, it's simply much more important to invest in quality when it comes to serious shoes, such as Oxfords or Chelsea boots, rather than when it comes to loafers. But what about Germany? How is their shoe game? Well, when I first started getting into style, Lloyd was my number 1 option, thanks to my father. Though in the meantime, I have come to realize that their shoes are just not that great. All of my shoes show visible signs of wear as compared to the pair I got from Scarosa, for example. Not only that, but they also offer very fashion-forward designs, not something that necessarily a gentleman would be looking for. So what should you get from Lloyd's? Well, you should get your shoes back and leave. So what are some better non-Italian, non-German options? Well, my favorite shoe manufacturer, right now at least, is LACO. In my opinion, if you want quality pair of shoes without breaking the bank and spending 1,000 on a pair of Churches, LACO is the perfect solution. You can find all the classic options at a decent price and made of the best quality possible. They are, however, a bit on the pricier side, and the worst part about LACO is that they do not ship to a lot of countries from Europe. I would personally get myself a pair of Chelsea boots and a pair of Oxfords. My personal philosophy is that I will get my winter and fall shoes from an English brand. Meanwhile, I will get my summery loafers from an Italian one. LACO gets a definite S. To quickly go over Edmonds as well, I have heard many people say that they're the American version of LACO, and judging from the quality and offhand experience I've had with them, that does seem to be the case. That's why I will give Edmonds an A, slightly below LACO's. 25, we have Brooks Brothers. While we're speaking about American brands, we have to mention Brooks Brothers as well. The impact that they've had on menswear throughout history can simply not be overstated. From their influence on the Ivy League to inventing the OCBD and even outfitting most of the US modern day presidents. But are they any good? Their style and aesthetic is on point, especially if you're going for a preppy vibe. They do offer some blends, but for the most part their selection consists of natural fabrics such as wool and cotton. And just like Ralph Lauren, Brooks Brothers is a true American classic. On the downside, however, their suits simply do not fascinate me. They offer a very classical American dropsticks build that in my personal opinion simply doesn't look as good as an English or Italian suit that will be more tailored around the body. Their products are also a bit more on the expensive side, which is definitely something that you should keep in mind. Seeing as Brooks Brothers has invented the OCBD, I cannot not recommend you to get a few shirts from them, so fill your cart with some blues, whites, pinks, or maybe even patterns. My favorite item from Brooks Brothers is this pair of leather sneakers that I got from them with a white sole. I don't wear them very often. Most often I wear them when I go to the gym or I pair them up with my leather jacket. But seeing as I've bought them about 5 years ago and they're still in a very good shape, I would definitely recommend them. I will place Brooks Brothers in the B+ category. They do offer quality, but for the price point that it's at, you could definitely find the same pieces in different places. Crossing the ocean, let's take a look at another pioneer of classic menswear style. Lacoste, of course, invented the polo shirt, so they're probably the best choice for polo shirts other than maybe Ralph Lauren. Other than their polo shirt collection, however, I do believe their other items are a bit boring, fashion forward, or too casual for my personal taste. If you're searching for the old money aesthetic, I would personally just stop at the polos. Gant, as opposed to the French company Lacoste, is an American brand that offers a more Ivy League or preppy vibe, so it would come a bit closer to the old money aesthetic that we're aiming for. They do offer all the basics such as polos, OCBDs or pants, but I would personally not get any of them. Why is that? Logos. Logos, logos, logos. Logos are absolutely everywhere when it comes to Gant. And while I might be a bit impartial when it comes to the small Ralph Lauren horse every now and then, I do not want all of my clothing items to say Gant on them. That's why Gant gets a C. Now, for Banana Republic, I must admit that I have a very limited experience with the brand, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. Banana Republic is supposed to be the next step up from the Gap. A bit more quality for a lot more cash. I would say if you want to stay away from plastic fabrics, you should avoid this place as well. That's why I'll put them in the D- category, which can also be referred to as a don't know category. There is one more brand that goes in here, and that is Herty. I have seen many influencers promote them, especially on Instagram, but what I can say after looking a bit on their website is that if they would approach me, I would personally decline their offer. As with the previous brand, my experience with them is very limited, but what I will say, however, is that upon doing research for this video, I have not come across one single positive review for them. And I have heard it all: inferior fabrics, bad stitching, improper fit, and cheap designs. Mind you, this is not me saying it, this is just the sea of reviews that I have found online. Verdict, D-. Let's now dial it back to a brand that not only I have experience with, but also at some point in my silly youth, I have once considered my favorite brand. I am trying to come up with good things to say about Tommy Hilfiger, but I simply can't. Once again, their products are very fashionable, featuring very modern designs and, more often than not, synthetic fabrics. So what can you get from them? Nothing. If you're looking for old money items, you will not find quality, earth tones, or timeless designs here. Grade F. Now, if you're in the market for some gloves, sit back and listen. Fratelli Orsini are, in my opinion, leaders in this field. They offer by far the most qualitative gloves that I have ever laid my hands on. Pun intended. I literally have nothing bad to say about them, and while they do offer certain other items such as scarves or beanies, I would primarily look at their glove collection, the summer ones and the winter ones as well. For winter you could get yourself a very nice pair of black leather gloves, and for summer a pair of nice brown driving gloves. Fratelli Orsini are a prime example of Italian craftsmanship, and for that I will give them an A+. Stetson is an American brand that, just like Fratelli Orsini, are leaders in their own field. I mean, I'm pretty sure there is not one person watching this video who has not heard of the name Stetson or maybe even Borsalino, even if not being a hat aficionado. I would personally mostly have a look at their fedoras or at their newsboy caps, while they offer other styles such as cowboy hats, beanies, or even trilbies or flat caps. I am mostly a fedora, newsboy cap or Panama hat kind of guy. Really nothing negative to say about Stetson, they get an S, they're my number one hat manufacturer. Belvadier is a brand created by fellow YouTuber Gentleman's Gazette. They offer a wide selection of items but mostly specialize in accessories. Think ascot ties, tie bars, collar bars, boutonnieres, and so on. Not only does Belvadier offer the highest quality available, but they also offer a vintage aesthetic that can hardly be found anywhere else, making their products very unique. Their items, however, are a bit on the pricier side, and even though they have many variations and many unique items that you might not find anywhere else, their collection does tend to be quite limited. Instead of telling you what to get from Belvadier, I will tell you what I want to get, and that is a formal grey ascot tie and some collar pins, two items that are very hard to find anywhere else. Their corduroy pants selection is also something you might want to have a look at, even though I would not necessarily want to spend 500 euros on a pair of pants, but that's up to you. Belvadier gets a definite A, and if they in the future will expand their collection, I would even be open to putting them in the S category. Proper Cloth is a relatively new band, but they do have an ace up their sleeve. With Proper Cloth, you are able to customize anything, just as with Suit Supply. You can customize the collar, you can customize the fabrics, you can even customize the cuffs, and you can have contrasting cuffs and collar, which is also known as a Winchester shirt. What I absolutely love about Proper Cloth is that they offer this vintage-inspired club collar that you are not really going to find in most other places. I plan on buying a light blue Winchester shirt with a club collar in the near future, and I would highly encourage you to go and check out their shirt customizing options on their website. Proper Cloth gets a B+, one of the best places online to find yourself a shirt if you do not want to go the bespoke route. While we're talking about shirts, let's also have a look at Eton Shirts. Eton is a very well recognized name in the style community, and for a very good reason. Not only do they offer quality, but also a variety of available options. That being said, they do tend to be on the pricier side, so if you don't find something on a sale, then maybe Eton is not the best choice for you, with their shirts ranging at about 200-300 euros. I have one shirt from Eton that I got for about 150 on sale, and I'm very happy with it. I wear it very often, so I will put Eton Shirts at B+, bordering on B. Do you know what the best thing about Calvin Klein is? That one reference from Back to the Future. Yep, that's about it. Seriously, other than their boxers, I cannot recommend any other products from Calvin Klein. Same as with Tommy Hilfiger or Hugo Boss before, Calvin Klein focuses on fast fashion, on synthetic fabrics, and on very modern designs and colors. In the past, I have brought shirts and suits from Calvin Klein, but let me tell you what I told myself last time I googled any symptom I had: never again. Calvin Klein gets a hard F. Now we have a few British brands remaining. Everyone's heard of Burberry, but are they really that good? Well, Burberry is best known for, you've guessed it, the Burberry check. And whether you want to get something in a classic Burberry pattern depends entirely on you. Some might find it aesthetically pleasing. I do as well. But others might think that it's very overused and might steer clear from it. Plus, some people might simply not want to wear something that is so often replicated and reproduced by street vendors in Turkey, for example. If you want to get something from Burberry, I would limit myself to one of the following two items. The Burberry scarf, you can find many different variations of it, I have one myself, and it feels amazing to the touch. And second of all, the classic Burberry trench coat, a staple in any modern gentleman's wardrobe. If I were to get one, I would get the vintage one. I feel like those models draped better and had a better length to them, but that's entirely your choice. The biggest drawback of Burberry is their price point. I mean, it can get ridiculous. Also, most of their designs, other than the aforementioned scarf and trench coat, can also border on modern fashionable trends. That's why Burberry gets a B+. Most of their items are fast fashion, but those timeless essentials are simply not replicable. Earlier we have talked about Savo, and Edward Saxton is actually one of the most famous tailoring houses on Savo, but I wanted to mention it individually for two specific reasons. First of all, their prices are very hard to beat. I mean, you can find yourself a Savo suit for about £1,500, and that's simply amazing. Sure, it will be made to measure, not bespoke, but still. The second thing is this shirt. Look at it. It may be €200, but it's literally one of the only pinpoint colors that I found on the market. When I wrote the script, I literally said it's going on my shopping list, and since then I have already purchased it. Edward Saxton gets a definite A+. Now, it might be weird seeing a brand that just focuses on walking canes and umbrellas for gentlemen, but I think you would agree with me that every single gentleman needs himself a high quality umbrella. And well, you simply cannot find better umbrellas than at James Smith & Sons, London's oldest umbrella makers. Last time I was in London, I had the pleasure of visiting them on location, and let me tell you, whatever umbrella you want, they can make it for you. S tier, definite S tier. Thomas Farthing is a brand that I have recently discovered, yet one that exemplifies exactly what I love about English style. If you want to shop at them, I'd especially take a look at their sweaters. They have a biscuit colored cable knit turtleneck that I've been waiting to get my hands on for a couple of months now, and I finally got it when I was in London, and I am absolutely in love with it. And it works spectacularly well with this pair of wide-legged trousers that I have from Suit Supply. Thomas Farthing gets an A+ in my book. Now, this one is very similar in terms of style with Thomas Farthing. They offer traditional vintage English style. If you're going for that British type of old money aesthetic, you may find some great pieces here. I got this green cable knit vest, and it looks extremely similar to this one I've had my eye on from purple label Ralph Lauren for only a quarter of the price. Copart gets a B. I would love to see them expand their collection, but so far they don't offer that many items. In the future, however, I definitely see room for expansion and for getting a better grade on the list. Slater again focuses on traditional British menswear. They also have a women's shop. And they focus on tweed. They're tweed specialists. I absolutely love their products, and I would rank them an A-. I've got to tell you, I don't have a tweed suit yet, but when I will get one, it will probably be from Cordings. Not only do they offer high quality Harris tweed, but their designs are also pretty great, if I do say so myself. Plus, another thing that I really enjoy is that you can choose a fabric and get a three-piece suit from said fabric, but you can also get matching caps, drinking flasks, hunting jackets, and so on. I did visit their store when I was in London last time, and let me tell you, the Cordings store right off Jermyn Street is one of the most beautiful stores that I have ever been in. Not only did Ben Sherman dress the UK in the 2024 Olympics, but they're also one of the oldest existing brands in England. And I have actually collaborated with them in the past, and now that my partnership with them is over, I want to tell you what I truly believe about their products. Their polo shirts are some of the most high quality polos that I have ever worn. And I truly mean that. Not only do they offer these cool vintage designs, but the fabrics are simply something else. I am a massive Polo Ralph Lauren fan, but let me tell you, I prefer polo shirts from Ben Sherman. The polo shirt is, however, the only item I can recommend because it's the only one I have experience with. But Ben Sherman, if you're watching this, I'm definitely open to another collaboration in the future. I will place Ben Sherman in the B tier. Hackett London is like the British Polo Ralph Lauren, and I mean that. I mean, they're literally using the same models. With Hackett, you can find very similar aesthetics to Polo Ralph Lauren, and if you can find something on sale, it's definitely worth the price. Finally, we have Barbour. And I mean, come on, if we're gonna be honest for a second, you cannot wear a suit every day of your life. But in those moments in which you still want to look stylish but do not want to wear a suit, there is nothing better than a Barbour jacket. There are two important types of British style in my opinion. First of all, you have your Kingsman, James Bond gent. Savile row suit, clean shirt, and shiny Oxfords. But on the other hand, you have your Ali Gordon types. And in the countryside, let me tell you, nothing will look better than a tweed suit under a Barbour jacket. And I have literally nothing bad to say about them. If you were to buy something, I would first have a look at their wax jacket, then probably at their scarves, and finally also have a look at their belts. I became a Barbour customer last year when I got my first wax jacket, and since then I've returned to get a stylish brown leather belt and even a tartan scarf. Barbour has quickly become one of my favorite brands, and because of that, combined with the quality of their products, they get a definite S. Well, that was a long one. I went through some of my favorite brands, and I really hope I did not miss any of your favorites, but if I did, please let me know in the comments. And also, check this video out next.